What if I told you that the exact neurological trajectory of your next 16 hours is basically locked in before your second foot even hits the bedroom floor?
That is, well, it's a pretty bold claim to start with.
Right. But think about it for a second. I mean, most of us treat waking up as just a purely biological chore.
Oh, absolutely.
The alarm goes off, your circadian rhythm violently protests, and it's just this frantic, groggy blur of survival.
Yeah, it's like a mandatory suffering we all just accept.
Exactly. We stumble to the shower, we gulp down our coffee, we're frantically searching for our keys, and we just accept this baseline level of chaos as, the normal cost of entry for participating in society.
We really do. We treat mornings as something to just endure.
We're wandering into a psychological minefield every single morning, and we're completely unarmed.
Enduring it until the caffeine hits the bloodstream and you can, feign being a functional human.
Yeah, but then you step into the framework provided by Rhonda Byrne's book, The Magic. Specifically, we're looking at chapter 11 today, which is titled A Magic Morning. And suddenly, that entire racetrack mentality of just surviving the morning is exposed as a massive, massive missed opportunity.
It really is.
So today, for our deep dive, we are exploring a concept that fundamentally re-engineers the start of your day. We're looking at a highly specific tactical protocol that spans from the very microsecond your eyes open to the moment you finish your breakfast.
What's compelling about this source material, and we should be clear about this, is that it strips away that vague, frankly unhelpful advice of just, wake up and choose to be happy.
Oh, I hate that advice.
Right. Because when you are half conscious and you're battling sleep inertia, you don't have the cognitive bandwidth to casually choose happiness.
No, you really don't. You're just trying not to trip over the laundry.
Exactly. So the text we are analyzing today doesn't ask you to do that. Instead, it provides a physical and mental regimen that uses concentrated gratitude not as an emotion, but as a structural tool.
A structural tool to build a quote-unquote magical day. And by magic, I mean the text isn't talking about pulling rabbits out of hats here.
No, definitely not.
It's referring to those frictionless days where things just effortlessly go your way. So the core premise we've extracted is that the absolute easiest, simplest way to guarantee this kind of day is to systematically saturate those mundane first moments with gratitude.
Saturate is the perfect word for it, really.
Yeah. And I want you, the listener, to really scrutinize your own morning for a moment. Just think about it. How much of it is spent dreading your inbox?
Or rehearsing arguments you might have later.
Yes. Having fake shower arguments. Today, we are going to completely dismantle that habit.
But to dismantle a habit that deeply ingrained, well, we have to start at the foundational philosophy of what it actually means to wake up.
Okay, let's unpack this.
The author opens this chapter by leaning on antiquity. Specifically, a quote from Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, from 121 to 180 AD. The quote is, and I have it right here, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love."
And what's fascinating here is the context of who is actually saying that.
Right. He wasn't just some guy on a retreat.
No, this is a man who practically ruled the known world. He spent years commanding legions in the freezing mud of the Germanic frontier.
Wow.
He was dealing with the devastating Antonine Plague. He faced constant political betrayal. I mean, he had every objective reason to wake up carrying the crushing weight of the world.
Yeah, his stress levels must have been astronomical.
Exactly. Yet his baseline, his initial cognitive starting point, was to recognize the sheer improbability and privilege of consciousness itself, completely independent of whatever his agenda held that day.
I read that quote and I immediately thought of the concept of hedonic adaptation.
Oh, and that's a great connection.
Yeah. So imagine you're gifted an incredibly exclusive, ultra-luxury subscription box, like the most amazing thing you could ever conceive of. And it gets delivered right to your bedroom door every single morning without fail.
Okay, I'm with you.
The first day, you'd be ecstatic. The 10th day, you'd still be thrilled. But by day 1,000, because you are so entirely used to it arriving instead of marveling at it, you literally kick it out of the way in the dark so you can stumble to the bathroom.
That is such a vivid way to put it.
That is what we are doing with life itself. We just kick it out of the way.
And hedonic adaptation is the exact psychological mechanism at play here. Human beings are evolutionarily wired to get used to things, even literal miracles.
Right?
We normalize our baseline. The heart pumps, the lungs expand, the eyes open, and we just view this staggering biological symphony as a mechanical given.
Just another Tuesday.
Exactly. But the source text demands that we view it philosophically.
Yeah.
It states bluntly, and I love this line, if you think a new day isn't such a big deal, then just try missing one.
That's a stark recontextualization. But I do have to push back a little on behalf of the listener here.
Go for it.
Let's say you've been up all night with a crying baby. Or you're working 2 jobs and you only got like 4 hours of sleep.
A very real scenario for a lot of people.
Right. The alarm goes off, telling that person, hey, think of what a privilege it is to be alive. It borders on feeling a bit patronizing, doesn't it? Like, how does the text reconcile this beautiful philosophy with the gritty, exhausting reality of modern life?
That's a totally fair pushback. But the text actually addresses this head-on by separating the quality of the sleep from the event of waking up.
Oh, interesting. How so?
It explicitly states that it doesn't matter how sleepy you are, or if your alarm jolted you awake for a job you resent, or even if you slept in naturally on a Sunday.
Okay.
The initial moment of waking is presented as a universal, hardwired reset button. The transition from unconsciousness to consciousness is the trigger. And that trigger is completely independent of whatever physical or emotional baggage you're carrying from the day before.
So the slate is wiped clean the moment the eyes open, regardless of the context.
Functionally, yes. But, and this is a big but, the slate doesn't stay clean for long.
No, it rarely does.
Right. And this is where the source material pivots from high-minded philosophy into functional protective psychology. The text explicitly warns that your daily morning routines are the times when you can actually harm yourself the most.
Harm yourself. I mean, my morning routine consists of zoning out while the shower warms up and staring blankly at the wall while I brush my teeth. It feels pretty neutral to me.
Most people feel that way.
Yeah, I think most people would argue that zoning out isn't harmful. It's just, their brain idling before the coffee kicks in.
And that assumption that the idling brain is neutral is exactly where we fall into the trap.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Neuroscience shows us that when the brain is zoning out, it activates what is called the default mode network, or the DMN.
The DMN, okay.
And because of our evolutionary negativity bias, the DMN doesn't typically idle on happy, peaceful thoughts. It idles on problem solving, threat detection, and social anxiety.
So while I'm just standing there brushing my teeth, staring at the mirror, my brain is secretly queuing up anxieties.
Exactly. Without your conscious permission, your brain is anticipating the stressful commute. It's rehearsing a difficult conversation you might have at 10 a.m. It's stressing over a vague sense of financial pressure.
Wow.
The dread begins to seep in before you've even rinsed the toothpaste. The text warns us that we are thinking negative thoughts without realizing we are doing it.
That makes a lot of sense. But hold on, if I'm already dreading a toxic workplace or a really stressful day, trying to actively practice gratitude feels like, I don't know, slapping a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
I can see why it would feel like that.
Doesn't this cross the line into toxic positivity? Am I just supposed to pretend the stress doesn't exist?
No, not at all. There is a crucial distinction between toxic positivity and what the text is actually advocating. Toxic positivity is the denial of reality.
Right. Saying everything is fine when it's not.
Exactly. It's saying the house is on fire, but the warmth is lovely. The source material is not asking you to deny that you have a difficult meeting at 10 a.m. It is introducing a strategy of cognitive load management.
Cognitive load management. Tell me more about that.
Well, your working memory has a finite capacity. You can only hold a certain number of conscious thoughts at one time.
Makes sense.
The text argues that there is no room for harmful negative thoughts when your mind is focused on looking for things to be grateful for.
I see where this is going.
Think of your working memory like a glass of muddy water. The mud is the anxiety, the dread, the autopilot negativity, the default mode network.
Right.
You cannot reach your hand in and just pull the mud out. The only way to clear the glass is to put it under a faucet and continuously pouring clean water until the mud is entirely flushed out.
The clean water is the gratitude. You are literally flooding the system.
You are intentionally crowding out the negative loop. You aren't suppressing the anxiety. You are literally occupying the neurological real estate that the anxiety requires to run its script.
That's a huge distinction.
It is. When you focus intensely on finding things to be grateful for in your immediate physical environment, you force your brain to tether itself to the present moment. You cannot simultaneously panic about the future and feel profound gratitude for the present. The brain just cannot process both states concurrently.
That makes so much sense. It really takes the pressure off feeling like you have to fix your bad mood and instead just gives you a mechanical action to perform. You just pour the clean water.
Exactly. It's a mechanical action.
And the text provides very specific, granular instructions on how to turn on that faucet. It starts before you even move a muscle.
Yes, the granularity is the key to bypassing the default mood network.
The text says, when you wake up, before you do a single thing, say the magic words, thank you. It instructs you to say thank you for the good night's sleep you just had. Even if it wasn't great, you slept. Say thank you for the bed you are lying in, the sheets, the pillow.
Notice what is happening here cognitively. Before your brain can reach out into the future to find a threat to worry about, you anchor your conscious attention to tactile, immediate sensory data.
Right, the physical stuff.
The physical texture of the pillowcase against your cheek, the warmth of the blanket, the feeling of gravity holding you in the mattress. You are forcing the brain to acknowledge the safety and comfort of the immediate millimeter of space around you.
And from that millimeter of space, the author expands the practice into motion.
Yes, she does.
She details her own literal morning routine every single day, without exception. She says the word thank as one foot hits the floor and the word you as the other foot touches the floor. She calls it the thank you walk.
I love the thank you walk.
By the time she is simply standing up, she has synchronized her physical reality with a psychological intervention.
It functions as a form of moving meditation, really.
Right.
Tying the syllables of thank you to the proprioceptive impact of a footstep turns an entirely unconscious motor function, just walking to the bathroom, into a deliberate trigger.
And if your mind is doing that, it can't be doing the anxiety loop.
Exactly. If your conscious attention is entirely consumed by matching your internal vocabulary with your footfalls, the default mode network simply cannot load up the dread about your inbox.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It's an incredibly practical shield. You step into the bathroom, you've completed your thank you walk, and the text instructs you to keep going. But it pushes us to look past the obvious.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's not just about looking at the ceramic sink and saying thanks for the sink. The author asks us to perceive the invisible infrastructure.
Ah, yes. The invisible infrastructure is where this practice evolves from a simple grounding exercise into a really profound perspective shift.
The text asks us to imagine the people who dug the trenches. The labor force that laid the pipes across the entire country, snaking throughout the city, under the asphalt streets, right up through the foundation of your specific building.
All of that.
All just so you can groggily turn a small metal handle and instantly receive beautiful, clean, hot water.
To really appreciate the magnitude of that, look at it historically. For thousands of years of human history, acquiring hot water for hygiene was a massive, labor-intensive undertaking.
Oh yeah, chopping wood, building fires.
It required hauling heavy buckets from a well or a river, waiting for the water to heat, managing the smoke and ash. Today, you literally flick your wrist.
It's basically a miracle.
The text is forcing your brain to recognize the massive, sprawling web of human effort, engineering, and historical progress that culminates in your morning shower.
I really want you listening to internalize that image. Tomorrow morning, when you turn that tap, feel the physical sensation of the hot water. Instead of staring blankly at the drain, realize that an army of unseen laborers, engineers, city planners, and plumbers from decades past all collaborated.
They laid miles of subterranean piping.
Miles of it. Simply so you could wash your face in absolute comfort.
It completely shatters the illusion of isolation. When we are stuck in our morning dread, we feel entirely alone with our problems.
We really do. It feels like it's just us against the world.
But by acknowledging the infrastructure, the tap water, the toothpaste, the woven towels, the soap, the glass mirror, we transition from being an isolated individual suffering through a morning to becoming the beneficiary of immense collective human ingenuity.
It's humbling.
The source material suggests that the only appropriate, logical response to recognizing that web of support is immense gratitude.
It completely dismantles entitlement. I mean, we take the hot water as a given, and we actually get annoyed if it takes 30 seconds longer to warm up than usual.
Right. We're so impatient.
This practice replaces the entitled assumption of course the water is hot, with a humbling realization of how incredibly fortunate I am to live in a timeline where the water is hot.
And that realization carries a distinct neurological signature. When you experience genuine awe or profound appreciation, you trigger the release of dopamine and serotonin.
So you're changing your brain chemistry.
You are literally changing the chemical cocktail in your brain before you have even left the bathroom.
Okay, so You step out of the bathroom, the brain is chemically altered, you are tethered to the present moment, and you are feeling fresh and awake. But the text doesn't let the momentum stop there.
It keeps building.
It takes this web of invisible human effort and expands it from the municipal pipes under your street to a network that wraps around the entire globe. You move to your closet to get dressed.
Getting dressed is another heavily automated routine that is just ripe for psychological intervention.
You stand in front of your closet, and instead of experiencing the usual decision fatigue or the feeling of I have nothing to wear, the text prompts you to feel gratitude for simply having clothes to choose from.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the text makes a very astute observation about modern apparel. It asks you to consider how many people must have been involved in making all the various items of clothing you put on your body in a single day.
It points out that the clothes we wear on any given Tuesday likely come from many different countries across the planet.
A truly global effort.
The text explicitly says, thank you to everybody, and I love how that simple phrase shrinks the world. You are standing in your bedroom alone, yet you are intimately connected to cotton farmers in one hemisphere, textile weavers in another,
Factory workers, cargo ship captains navigating oceans.
truck drivers on highways, and retail workers in your own city.
You're wrapping yourself in a global supply chain. When you put on a shirt, you aren't just donning a piece of fabric, you are wearing the organized effort of thousands of human beings.
It's wild when you think about it like that.
The source text teaches us to extract magic from the mundane by forcing us to perceive the immense complexity hidden within simple objects.
It zooms in on shoes specifically. It says, do you have shoes? Lucky you. Imagine life without them. Thank you for shoes. Which honestly sounds a bit like something you'd tell a toddler. I had to pause when I read that. I'm supposed to thank my shoes.
It feels simplistic until you run the mental simulation the text demands. Imagine your exact day-to-day. The commute, walking across the asphalt parking lot, navigating gravel,
Oh, ouch.
standing on the cold tile floor of an office or a grocery store. But you have to do it entirely barefoot. The friction, the pain, the vulnerability.
It would be agonizing. Our entire modern environment is built on the assumption that our feet are protected.
Our daily wardrobe is not an expected standard. It is a marvel of human collaboration designed to shield us from the elements. By instructing us to say thank you for our shoes, the text is again utilizing that crowding out effect.
Pushing out the mud.
Right. You replace the potential negative thought of, these shoes are scuffed, or I wish I had those new sneakers, with a profound, grounding appreciation for the basic protection they provide your physical body.
It reframes the entire bedroom from a place of stressful choices into a gallery of global gifts.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Once you're dressed, protected, and grounded, it's time for the final phase of the morning routine. Breakfast.
Fueling the biological machine.
Exactly. And the author introduces another brilliant quote here from J.B. Priestley, the renowned British writer and playwright from the 20th century. He said, I have always been delighted at the prospect of a new day, a fresh try, one more start, with perhaps a bit of magic waiting somewhere behind the morning.
A bit of magic waiting somewhere behind the morning.
Yeah.
That phrase perfectly encapsulates the philosophy we are dissecting.
It really does.
It frames magic not as an anomaly that randomly strikes the lucky few, but as a built-in potentiality of every single sunrise. It is waiting there, objectively present, requiring only our subjective alignment to unlock it.
And how do we unlock it in the kitchen? By applying that same extreme, concentrated micro-gratitude to our food and our appliances.
The appliances, yes.
The text instructs us to say thank you for the morning coffee, the tea, the fruit juice. It highlights that these things make our mornings enjoyable and provide the literal caloric energy we need to function. But then it demands gratitude for the kitchen appliances themselves.
The invisible servants of the modern home.
The refrigerator, the hot plates, the oven, the toaster, the coffee maker, the kettle. Now, I have to be honest here. When I first read this, I thought, okay, thanking my toaster is where I draw the line.
It sounds a bit eccentric at first pass.
I can thank the cosmos for life. I can thank the global supply chain for my shirt, but thanking a plastic box with heating coils?
It challenges our modern arrogance. We view technology as subservient and mundane. But consider the thermodynamics involved in a standard kitchen refrigerator.
Thermodynamics? Okay, lay it on me.
It is constantly fighting entropy. It's manipulating refrigerants through a compressor to pull heat out of an insulated box, keeping your perishable food perfectly chilled day after day.
Which prevents disease and starvation, historically speaking.
Exactly. Consider the precision of a toaster or the instantaneous heating element in a kettle.
A century ago, securing a hot cup of tea and fresh fruit in the dead of winter in the morning required immense wealth, a staff of servants, and hours of preparation.
Now it requires the sleepy push of a button.
It's unbelievable.
The text urges us not to let that technological miracle pass by unacknowledged just because it is common. Familiarity breeds contempt, or at the very least, apathy.
And we are very apathetic in the mornings.
Actively thanking the appliances is a deliberate cognitive exercise to strip away the apathy. You are ensuring an energetic morning by refusing to be numb to the conveniences that facilitate your life.
Notice the incredible progression the author has taken us on here. We started with the invisible breath in our lungs, anchored ourselves to the fabric of our bed, mapped our physical footsteps across the floor.
A literal, step-by-step expansion.
We appreciated the vast hidden water infrastructure, acknowledged the global economy resting on our shoulders, and are now sitting in our kitchens marveling at the thermal dynamics of our appliances. We have undergone a comprehensive, escalating journey of psychological priming, and we haven't even unlocked the front door to leave the house yet.
Which brings us to the ultimate quadrant of utility. What is the overarching promised result of this extreme micro-gratitude?
What's the payoff?
Right. The author doesn't just suggest this is a charming way to pass the time. She presents a very specific structural outcome.
She provides her own personal testimony in the book. She says that by the time she is dressed and ready for the day, she feels so genuinely happy she could jump for joy.
Jump for joy. That's a high bar.
And this feeling of immense joy is the catalyst. She states that when she feels that happy, she knows her gratitude has worked, and she is guaranteed to have a magical day.
So we need to unpack how a subjective internal feeling guarantees an objective external reality. How does feeling happy in your kitchen make the rest of your day magical out in the real world?
It sounds a bit like manifesting, but there's hard science behind it, right?
Exactly. The text describes a multiplier effect. The author says, as I go through my day, I really feel as though I have a magic power with me because one good thing after another happens. To understand the mechanics of this, we have to look at the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
The RAS, this is where the magic meets the biology.
Precisely. The reticular activating system is a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through.
Like a filter.
At any given second, your brain is bombarded by millions of bits of sensory data sites, sounds, temperatures, peripheral movements. Your conscious brain can only process about 40 bits of information per second.
Only 40 out of millions?
Yes. So the RAS is essentially the bouncer at the door of your consciousness. It decides what gets in.
And how does it decide?
It decides based on what you have programmed it to care about. Have you ever bought a red car and suddenly you see red cars everywhere?
Oh, all the time. Or when you learn a new word and suddenly everyone is using it.
Right. They were always there, but your RAS is now filtering them into your conscious awareness because it thinks they're important. If you spend your entire morning routine dreading your day, annoyed at the alarm, frustrated by the commute, you have programmed your RAS to scan the environment for threats, annoyances, and friction.
So you're literally telling the bouncer to only let in the bad stuff.
You will selectively notice every rude driver, every delayed elevator, every single typo in an email.
Because your brain wants to prove you right.
Yes, exactly. But by flooding your first waking hour with intense, concentrated gratitude, thanking the pillow, the water, the clothes, the toaster, you are manually programming your reticular activating system to look for positive inputs. You're telling the bouncer, only let in things that align with appreciation.
You are priming the pump. So when you step out into the world, your brain is actively scanning for more good things to add to the list. And when a good thing happens, the text says you become even more grateful.
It creates an upward spiral, a positive feedback loop. Finding one good thing validates the system, which makes the RAS scan harder for the next good thing. This is what the text means when it says the practice speeds up the magic with even more good things happening.
The author asks, you know those days when everything just seems to go right for you? We all know those days. You hit all the green lights on the way to work, someone randomly holds the elevator for you, your coffee tastes phenomenally better than usual, a project gets approved effortlessly.
And we usually attribute those days to luck or a random alignment of the stars.
But the test promises that executing this magic morning practice engineers those days on demand. It takes the rare, frictionless day and turns it into a replicable output based on a specific set of morning inputs.
So what does this all mean for the listener? How do they implement this operational framework tomorrow morning?
The text provides a definitive blueprint, a summary called Magic Practice Number 11, A Magic Morning. Let's lay out the protocol so you have the exact steps. It breaks down into 4 clear steps.
Go for it.
Step 1. When you wake up to the new day, before you do a single thing, say the magic words, thank you.
Right, before the feet even move.
Step 2. From the moment you open your eyes until you've finished getting ready, say the magic words, thank you, in your mind for everything you touch and use.
Those 2 steps are the core behavioral interventions for the morning itself. The thank you walk, the appliances, the whole deal. But the author integrates this morning routine into the broader ongoing system established throughout the rest of the book.
Right. Step 3. Count your blessings. Make a list of 10 blessings. Write why you're grateful. Reread your list, and at the end of each blessing, say thank you, thank you, thank you, and feel as grateful for that blessing as you can.
This step transitions the fleeting morning thoughts into a permanent written record. It forces cognitive consolidation.
Because you have to write the why.
Exactly. Writing down the why demands a higher level of neurological processing than simply thinking it.
And finally, step 4. Just before you go to sleep tonight, hold your magic rock in one hand and say the magic words, thank you, for the best thing that happened during the day.
This 4th step is perhaps the most structurally vital piece of the entire architecture.
Why is that?
By instructing the reader to use the magic rock practice right before sleep, the author is creating a closed-loop system of gratitude.
A closed-loop system. Break that down for us.
Look at the intentional bookends the text has established. You begin the very first microsecond of consciousness with thank you. You end the very last microsecond of consciousness holding a physical anchor, the magic rock, saying thank you for the day's singular best event.
So you're sealing the day.
You have effectively sealed the perimeter of your waking life. The entry point and the exit point are secured.
You leave absolutely no room, no dark corners for the mind to wander into unhelpful, anxious, or resentful territory during its most vulnerable transitional states of waking up and falling asleep. You have built a fortress around your consciousness.
It is an incredibly robust defense mechanism against the chaos of the modern world.
Yeah.
You are deciding the terms of engagement before the world has a chance to dictate them to you.
It is profound when you look at the underlying mechanics of it. Let's briefly recap the massive journey we've taken on this deep dive.
It's been quite a journey.
We started by aligning ourselves with the Roman emperor, acknowledging the sheer, staggering biological privilege of simply possessing a new day. We explored the danger of the default mode network, realizing that our groggy autopilot mornings are actually dangerous vacuums that we must actively flesh out with the clean water of gratitude.
We examined the physical intervention of the thank you walk, utilizing proprioception to ground our thoughts. We peered behind the veil of our immediate surroundings to recognize the immense historical and global human effort hidden within our municipal water pipes, our woven clothing, and our kitchen appliances.
And finally, we uncovered the neurobiology of the reticular activating system, learning how applying this 4-step daily protocol programs our brain's filter to actively hunt for positive events, artificially engineering those rare, frictionless days where everything goes right.
So it's not just magic, it's mechanism.
Exactly. So my call to you, the listener, is not to just nod along to the theory today. Tomorrow morning, run the experiment. Test the protocol. When your feet hit the floor, say thank on the left foot, you on the right foot.
Give it a real try.
Notice the texture of your towel. Acknowledge the thermodynamic miracle of your refrigerator. See if it takes any extra time out of your schedule. Test if it truly alters the entire trajectory of the following 16 hours.
And as you prepare to run that experiment tomorrow, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've spent a significant amount of time analyzing how a single morning of concentrated micro-gratitude can compound to create one individual magical day.
Right.
But consider the long-term biological and psychological implications of scaling this behavior. If you systematically crowd out negativity, if you force your reticular activating system to filter for joy, and you string 100 of these mornings together, what happens to your baseline personality?
Oh, wow.
What happens to your very definition of what constitutes a bad day? If you refuse to let your brain idle in dread, does the magic eventually cease to be a practice and simply become your new normal?
What a question. What if the magic just becomes who you are? A massive thank you for joining us on this deep dive and for exploring the hidden architecture of your own mornings. We will catch you on the next one.